The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Oh, yeah. Good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday, August 29th, and today is National Chop Suey Day. It's also International Day Against Nuclear Threats, National Lemon Juice Day, because everyone knows you should start your morning off with a little bit of lemon juice. It's also National Sport Sampling Day, whatever the hell that's supposed to be, on top of According to Hoyle Day. And if you know what Hoyle is, then you know you love to play cards. But nonetheless, thank you for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. Use that fancy little QR code right there in the top hand corner of your screen to see where we live on the internet. And we're live every Monday through Friday on YouTube. And ultimately, pretty soon, we're going to be able to be streaming on all these different platforms again. But today is not that day. But kicking it off first, we have the dope dad himself. That's right, it's Rico Lamitte with his special glasses today. He's got his reading specs on today. Oh, yeah, that's not his diaper changing specs. That's his reading specs. That's right, is the dope dad himself. It is Rico Lamitte.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Jason. Am I supposed to wear like safety goggles when I'm changing the diaper?
I mean, I would be.
Yeah, I guess so. Keep my gloves on deck.
Yeah, watch out.
Yes, indeed. Luckily, there's not too much projectile poop or anything like that these days. Something you don't have to worry much about, Jason. But my story today is another one out of New York in the sports lane. I'll talk a little bit about the U.S. Open. So in the first round of the singles matches for this year's U.S. Open tennis tournament, they kicked off yesterday at USTA Billie Jean King National Tennis Center in Queens, New York. Day one highlights included victories at Arthur Ashe Stadium by second-ranked Serbian superstar Novak Djokovic in the men's section over France and their star Alexander Muller, and then also sixth-ranked women's bracket phenom American Coco Gauff making her Open debut with a victory over Germany's Lara Sigmund. There was a little bit of a low light, though. Greece's eighth-ranked Maria Sakkari made an offhanded complaint about the smell of weed after being upset by Spain's Rebecca Masarova in straight sets on court 17. Despite Sakkari notably struggling for an extended period of time leading into the Open, her comments made in the heat of the moment seemed to blame her poor performance on a little Queen's funk in the air that no one else seemed to really take issue with. In the post-match presser, she attempted to walk back her words, but the damage was already done. We run that tape?
He says 1 second, he'll be right with you. He's cueing it for you. He says to continue for a second and the tape will magically appear.
Okay.
I mean,
so Sakkari, I really want this part in there, but Sakkari's comments made it the second year in a row that a U.S. Open athlete complained of weed smoke affecting their play in the tournament. Last September, Australian Nick Kyrgios complained mid-match to an umpire about the, quote, effing marijuana smoke being blown in the stands. So he ended up winning his round, but he ended up winning that round, but he was bounced soon after in the quarterfinal. Kyrgios also was plagued by poor play and tabloid controversies leading up to the 2022 Open Air.
You got the video ready, Adam?
And I would look at the clock, and I don't know. I do agree with them that I should have put more pressure on the referee a little bit earlier.
That's not it, Adam. Where do you want this cue? This one?
It's the YouTube link that I sent. It's in Discord, the YouTube link.
Yeah, he says just to continue. Continue. My bad. Sorry, Rico.
Killing me right now.
Sorry, bro. Sorry. We're blaming it on Adam. He's just getting back. He's still jet lagged and everything. You know what I mean? Yeah, it was. It was in Discord. It said this is for the video. Yeah. So you've had it.
All right. So Kyrgios was plagued by poor play and tabloid controversies leading up to his 2022 open air appearance in Queens. So perhaps we're seeing a trend beginning to form here. The U.S. Open is the fourth and final Grand Slam tournament of the year and one of the oldest tennis championships in the world.
When you was
The best
up, you told the umpire about this.
That's it.
Is that it?
Yep.
All right, go for it.
That's the one. Run it.
Run this, Adam. Taking way too much time. Oh man, I feel like I'm watching an hourglass right now.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Dude, do we ever practice this shit before the show?
Yeah, this is.
All right, here we go. All right, so the best in the game travel near and far to battle for a cut of the $65 million pot of prize money.
What was that about in terms of the park? What was there a smell out there that was bothering you?
Weed.
It was some weed out there. Yeah. And from that moment on, with how big she was hitting, you just felt that you had control in that moment. What happened for you after that moment?
It wasn't the smell that affected the score in any way. It was just a comment because it was smelling quite a lot. It has nothing to do with the match.
With how she served that well, did you feel like she was like at the top 15 level and just played out of her mind in your perspective?
Well, if I don't put pressure from my side, then it's expected, that the opponents are gonna play well because they're very good players, and she's a very good player. She's a big girl. She serves well. Everyone plays well nowadays.
You were still hitting the ball big at the very least, especially on
How long we
serving
gotta
and
listen to this?
forehand.
You already
You
said
just
it's not
feel
about
just
the
those
Hold on.
moments of
Listen
her
to it.
playing well, and just you still feel that confident going into the fall with how you're still hitting with depth in the court.
I wouldn't say that I was playing well. If I played at least, I would say 5-10% better, I would have won that match. And these are the matches that I have to win. Like, I cannot lose these matches. They've been, too many for my level this year. And yeah, it's unfortunate.
Are you surprised? Obviously, the Grand Slams didn't go very well for you this year. Did you think you could turn it around here, or was the confidence maybe gone by now?
I thought that I would, but I was wrong. So yeah, I have not much to say. I'm sorry.
Was that the first time you ever noticed that smell before? Nick Kyrgios complained last year about how much it was bothering him, the weed.
On that court?
I don't remember, it was the same court, but it was...
Yeah.
I think it was, yeah.
I don't know, it was smelling yesterday when I was practicing there. It's irrelevant. Sometimes it smells food, sometimes it smells cigarettes, sometimes it smells weed. I mean, it's something that we cannot control because we're in an open space. There's a park behind. People can do whatever they want, and yeah, it's nothing that we can control.
Obviously, the noise is something you're used to.
Cut it.
All right, cut it, Adam.
It's no different than
She
noise.
just reiterated
Hold
that
on.
it wasn't
Let me
a
finish. Can I
factor.
finish? Can I wrap it?
I can't
All right,
wait
let me
to hear
finish.
how you bring this all
Let me
together.
finish.
here we go.
Let me finish my shit. Y'all messed up. You messed up the playback.
I didn't
Let me
mess
finish
up
my
shit.
stuff. So the connection I'm making here is both Sakara this year and Nick Kyrgios last year were complaining about weed smoke in an open air tournament that nobody else had an issue with. right? So Kyrgios was plagued by his poor play leading up to the tournament and ended up being bounced the next round. The U.S. Open being the fourth and final Grand Slam tournament of the year, and the oldest tennis championship in the world. The best in the game travel far and wide to come get a piece of that $65 million pot. So it's no surprise an enormous amount of pressure applied began to show cracks in even the most chill competitors. But on athletic stages as big as the U.S. Open, the difference between winners and losers usually amounts to preparation, luck, and the ability to tune out distractions like weed smoke. In my opinion, Kyrgios last year and Sakkara this year, their inability to focus had nothing to do with weed in the air and had everything to do with their lack of preparation. Serena Williams and Venus Williams grew up in Compton and had to learn in Compton before their father moved them to Delray Beach to escape the crime, to get away from that. And they still had to deal with a lot of outside pressure to continue to win. Djokovic, win. It's not about weed in the air. It's all about your lack of preparation, your lack of focus on the biggest stage in the world. So that's my take on the story today. I know there's going to be all over the headlines, and they're going to be talking about, oh yeah, New York, the weed smoke is everywhere. How can we remedy this? But they choose to play outside in the middle of a city where there's going to be all different kinds of smoke, cigarette smoke. There's going to be kind of food and all different kinds of distraction. If you are a champion, you don't make excuses. You win. I'm Rico Lamitte. Dope is out on the street. Now you can go.
How come? I just so wonder this. How come she's not complaining about the smog or the smell of piss and shit in the streets, but yet she's going to complain about the smell of weed?
Well, you've
And
never
blame it on
been, I
this.
guess,
She's
to
making
this
excuses.
place, Jason. It's a very nice facility where they play the U.S. Open. It's not like it's in downtown Manhattan where it's a little rougher smelling. It's a
Look,
lovely, it's a lovely venue.
this is the
What does
thing.
rough smell like?
Yeah,
Gretchen?
exactly.
Jason's bedroom, probably.
I bet. Oh yeah, there'd be rough things going on in there, girl. Oh,
She wasn't really complaining, though, was she?
She's
No,
complaining.
She wasn't,
Dating.
so I don't know what this whole
See,
thing is about.
she's 100%
Yes,
complaining.
if
This is
you-
a total
hold on.
cop out.
So the reason why they were asking about that was right after she lost, she was complaining on the sideline to somebody asking her what happened, and she was like, "Smell like marijuana. It's weed."
Somebody needs a bong hit, maybe. That's
Well,
what it
clearly
is.
she walked
Yes.
it back.
I agree with you, Rico. Champions don't make excuses, baby. Champions don't make excuses.
They make
Should
it happen.
follow,
Champions make it
Michael-
happen. They don't make
Yeah.
excuses.
You should follow Michael Phelps' lead and, maybe smoke some weed before she.
Yeah. Sha'Carri Richardson for sure.
I mean,
There you
no
go.
offense to her play, but who was picking her to win the tournament? Anybody?
I mean, I definitely wasn't, but I'll tell you what.
Coach.
I think that this is a good play for any cannabis brand, and I want to see her face on a bag, and I want to see the strain name to be called Sore Losers.
Yeah, she was number 8. She was ranked number 8th in the world, and she's the highest ranked Greek ever to play.
Okay,
So
how
there's
many
a lot riding on her.
many
There's a lot of
high-ranking
pressure on
Greeks
her.
have you seen playing tennis recently? And the same with
I
Nick
don't really like tennis
Kyrgios.
like
He
that.
is a well-known crybaby. So I don't want to hear
Oh,
shit.
Kyrgios? Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
a wuss. He's a punk. I mean,
Maybe they
come
call
on.
the strain
But he
weak backhand.
plays in ones. He plays in Jordans. You got to respect that.
Oh,
Oh
okay, that
God,
makes it
yeah,
much
because
more.
whatever shoes you wear makes a difference.
Gotta be the shoes.
Yeah.
Now
I'm
that
just
Michael Phelps,
saying.
baby.
That's it.
I would be more entertained by this story if it was some real champion or
You saying not a
Serena or
loser?
someone else. I'm saying a
She
higher
said not a
ranked
loser.
actual contender complaining that it messed up.
She's
their
number 8
game.
in the world. She's not ranked number 8 in the world.
It's not number 1. It's not even top 5.
And
Find me,
she gonna
find
drop
me
now.
She
one
wants
sports
7 or
analyst
better.
Yeah, she's a
who said
loser.
She was gonna win this.
She's a
Find me
loser.
one.
She is a big fat loser.
I'm not calling her a loser.
I
I'm
am.
just saying how many majors has she won?
It's not this one. Not the last one, because I've never heard of her name before till today.
I've heard of the woman. I know who she is. But still,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have
You watch
said
a lot of
that
tennis?
she's my number one pick to win. No, Jason, I am a well-informed person. I've taken lots of various publications and broadcasts, and I know lots of things. You'd be surprised at how much
Right.
sports knowledge is up here in this pretty little girl head because we don't care about sports because we're women, blah, blah, blah. Suck a dick.
Are you a country club sport aficionado? Is that what you're saying? You're a
Am I
country
what?
club sport expert?
No, you want to ask me about football? I can tell you a lot fucking more about football than tennis, but no, I'm a Pittsburgh girl. I'd never played a lot of tennis in my day. No, I was not raised on tennis.
I think that it was more offensive that she called her opponent a big girl.
I know.
than it was that she bitched about the weed.
Oh, that's funny.
Right?
That's funny.
Right.
That is pretty good.
She's a big girl. She hit the ball
maybe
really
she was
hard.
listening to a little bit of
I hope she meant tall.
She didn't. That's not what she meant at all.
She was listening to the wobble, afterwards.
Right.
Hey, big girl.
Yeah.
Back it up. Back it up.
That's right.
She meant that she's built like Lizzo is what she meant. Yep. But on that, we're going to keep it rolling. We're going to roll right into a commercial, and we're going to be right back.
How's it going, guys? Saman Razani coming to you from Green Street here with Jason Beck, smoking on the best weed in the world. Did you know that we have an audio-only version of our podcast available on Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Spotify? Tune in now and check it out.
He doesn't put his full
And we're back.
dedication and talent into the sport, we'll just say.
Mm-hmm.
He'd rather be a
I
rock
agree.
star than an athlete.
Oh, boy.
Sometimes the distractions can become your comeuppance, I guess. But
I mean,
up next,
Jason Beck, case in point.
Yeah, right. She just
he's the
loves
longest
to throw
continuously
shade.
operating retailer in the game, known for smoking the best weed in the world. He's also West Hollywood's president of cannabis tourism, and here to bless us with his unadulterated right-wing truthiness.
That's
we have
right.
Jason Beck.
Only spit truthisms, Rico. You know that. And so I'm going with my second story first because I feel like this is much more important of a story. Because California's pot industry has another big problem on its hands. That's right. It looks like it's time to add, in quotation marks, get ready, guys, fake unions to the long list of problems facing California's multi-billion-dollar legal pot industry. Some of the biggest legal cannabis companies in California appear to be violating state law by working with organizations that claim to be labor groups but are accused of not actually attempting to fight for workers' rights. California law requires any pot company with more than 20 employees to sign a labor peace agreement with a bona fide labor union. The law is intended to provide workers with easier access to labor organizations that can petition the company for better wages and working conditions. However, at least 3 of the biggest pot companies in the state have been caught working with, in quotes, a fake union called Professional Technical Union Local Number 33, or ProTech, according to MJ Biz Daily. Last month, the California Agricultural Labor Relations Board determined that ProTech was not a bona fide labor organization because they made no discernible effort to organize or represent any employees in the cannabis industry and even failed to have a physical presence in California. The board ultimately determined that ProTech and the companies it contracted with had entered into a sham relationship in order to skirt the law. The list of companies working with ProTech includes Nobis, one of the biggest distribution companies in the state, Herbal, I don't even think they're in operation anymore, a major distributor that recently went out of business, and Glass House Brands, one of the biggest pot-performing companies in the state, according to MJ Biz Daily. The complaint against ProTech was filed in the International Brotherhood of the Teamsters, a union that represents more than 1 million workers in North America. Peter Finn, a vice president of the Teamsters, told SF Gate in a phone interview that these sham unions hurt the rights of California cannabis industry workers. In a quote, he say, "This is not just about a labor peace agreement. This is about a worker's ability to form a union to improve their wages, benefits, and working conditions," Finn said. "These fake unions and employers that engage with them are undermining the law and the will of the people." Last month, the Teamsters filed a second complaint alleging that the union called the National Agricultural Workers Union was also not a bona fide labor organization, according to the Teamsters. The National Agricultural Workers Union has agreements with Caliva, a cannabis company owned by the parent company, since 2021, an SEC filing shows. Rapper Jay-Z is an investor in the parent company, and Anthony P. Rimadano, an attorney representing the National Agricultural Workers Union, said the Teamsters allegations were faulty flatly untrue, and described the group as a, in quote, startup union with no paid staff that has slowly been working to organize workers. In another quote, a lot of what's happened with this organization became stalled during COVID because there were limited opportunities to organize and do face-to-face activity, Romanato said in a press interview with SFGate. But companies have 180 days to enter into a new labor peace agreement if they are found to be working with an entity that is not a bona fide labor organization. Department of Cannabis Control spokesperson David Hafner told the SFGate. So far, most of the impacted companies are staying silent. Nabis declined to comment when reached by SFGate, and both Caliva and the parent company did not return requests for comment as well. A spokesperson for Glasshouse Brands said in an emailed statement to SFGate that the company is working to find a replacement union to sign an agreement with. We are in the process of complying with this change of status and expect to make the adjustment within the time frame requested by the state, the statement said. Labor peace agreements are contracts between a company and a labor organization where the union agrees not to picket or boycott the business, and the business agrees not to disrupt efforts by the union to organize workers and petition for better working conditions and pay. While they're not specific to the cannabis industry, pot companies increasingly need to strike deals as more states with legal weed mandate them, thanks to heavy labor union lobbying. Beginning in July 2024, the requirement for a labor peace agreement will apply to all companies with 10 or more employees, down from 20. And Hafner said in an email to SFGate that the California cannabis regulator does not actively investigate unions that enter into labor peace agreements with pot companies, instead relying on a complaint-driven system. So they're basically relying on snitches. DCC is actively working on efforts to increase transparency into licenses labor peace agreements so that we can strengthen labor organizations and workers' ability to file effective complaints, Hefner said. California has the largest number of legal industry workers in America, according to a 2022 report, with more than 83,000 people employed by the cannabis industry in 2021. There are likely other cannabis companies that have signed agreements with ProTech. An attorney for the organization told the state's labor Relations Board that they had entered into 64 labor agreements with businesses in California's cannabis industry. So there's more to come with this story, I see. But nonetheless, this is Jason Beck for the High at 9 News Hour. What do y'all think about this, and how shady are these unions?
All right,
Well, it's
Jason
not
Beck,
a union.
We did this story last month, and I think you just redid it just for kicks to
I didn't.
keep hammering
This is a
home
brand
that
new
you don't like
story.
unions.
Brand new story.
Well, it's the same
Update.
goddamn
It is an
story
update on
from
the story.
MJ.
It's an updated story, Gretchen. It's an
All right,
updated
fine.
story.
Updated story. Labor unions are still necessary, and anyone who says that they are horrible and bad for the country and are ruining this, democracy are idiots.
Well,
That's
they
my
are.
stance.
This is a nice little update. They actually named the companies that are working with them.
Mhm.
But Jason, it's not a dirty union. There wasn't a union at all, apparently.
It was a fake
And,
union.
Yeah.
It was
So,
a fakey. I mean,
these
Right.
companies got to do better. They got to do their due diligence on knowing what a union is, and knowing how to check these guys out before just signing on. Be like, yo, we're unionized.
I just don't see how any of these big companies would be able, with all of the different compliance directors and all the different people that have significant titles, how this is overlooked or overpassed or over whatever they want to call it as. All right, overlooked.
I'm sorry, but one of the biggest problems I think
Yeah.
in this industry is people who decide we're starting a company. I'm giving myself a title. I'm a CEO. I'm a chief compliance officer. People with zero experience. And then they look at people with experience and no, you're the fucking devil. You're from DC, down with Big Brother, blah, blah, blah. People who actually have professional experience and could have said, Jagoffs, it's not a labor union. But no, we can grow weed, and so we know fucking everything. Drives me nuts about this industry. That makes me a CEO.
I agree with you, Gretchen, on that.
Thing, Gretchen. I don't think that's a C type thing. I think that's like HR department.
And how many companies do you know in this industry, Saman, have HR departments?
A lot of them do.
Okay.
A lot of them do.
Yeah, most of them do.
Ooh, bullshit.
Yeah, they do.
Every single
Every single one.
I would like you to name a company that is not an MSO that has an HR department.
Glass House has a HR department. The parent company has an HR department. Caliva has an HR department. Catalyst has an HR department.
Anybody with employees,
Exactly.
probably-
Even my store has an HR
I will
department.
take back that statement because
Okay.
I am a good
That's like
person, and I
crazy.
recognize
That's
when I
crazy.
may make statements that might be a little bold.
Jason's
Jason Beck
right,
does not have that
and
talent.
Gretchen is wrong.
My point is that this industry is so fucked when it comes to structure and general business practices, and they refuse to think that they might not know how to do something.
It's just like every other industry. When you have a labor peace agreement that's a rule for your industry, it's not like you're spending time actually deliberating that you're like, hey, we have to do this. Okay, get it done. Companies like whatever, this company that we're
They
talking
should look into it.
I mean, who's going to look into that? Nobody is going to spend a lot of time on that.
Nobody's going to look into see if they're giving money to a reputable organization. No one wants to spend time on that.
Precisely. That is exactly what I'm saying. No one's going to.
Hence the reason that they're not very experienced if they have no interest in due diligence.
Man, I should have started up one of these fake unions.
It happens all the time in government.
know,
You have
man.
people that are special envoys of whatever country or whatever diplomat coming in there, wheeling and dealing on the basis predicated that they're like attached to this envoy or whatever, and they're
Can
doing.
you just take their word for it?
Look,
Apparently.
it happens. It happens.
I got a nice suit on.
Yeah, they had a nice suit.
Jesus.
They had a big, the big knot. You know what I mean? Not the baby knot, the big knot. Yeah.
Like, what do you look for? You gotta look for like a cheaper suit if you want to be represented by a reputable union, right, Jason?
Well,
you're not gonna have like a top of the line anything.
Well, my question, I would bounce that over to Gretchen. Gretchen, what can these cannabis companies do to make sure that they're actually partnering with a reliable union? What are the telltale signs of a true union as opposed to a fake union?
I would look into their backgrounds. How long have they been established? Who is running it? Where is the money going? I would ask a lot of fucking questions.
Mm-hmm. Would you ask these on a phone call or by email?
That there is a specific union certification stamp.
Is there a directory?
I would talk to your local governments. I would talk to folks. These guys got to be certified in the state somewhere. I mean, there are ways to look into this. Call up the Bureau of Labor. I'm sure California's got one of those.
What about the Better
Who is a
Business Bureau?
reputable labor. Huh?
What about the Better
it's
Business
not
Bureau?
A business. No, I would call up a labor.
They are a business because they generate revenue.
They're not a business. It's not the same.
The other thing to realize is like it's cannabis, right? This isn't farm labor union. This isn't like
it is exactly a farm labor union.
Oh,
you guys are farmers. You're cultivators. You're growers. What do you want to call it? You absolutely could apply to a farmers labor's union.
Gretchen, hold on.
That's what we keep trying to say. We're just a plant.
Gretchen, hold on. What about for the companies that aren't growing at an ag scale? In other states that aren't.
Well, then there are plenty of other unions to talk to. Talk to UFCW.
Yeah, there's the Baby Farmers Union.
There are various different unions. And if you need help determining what is what, there are wonderful consultants out there you could actually hire.
There are?
Navigate this.
Really?
Yes,
Panoptic strategies, people.
Yeah, Panoptic Strategies will help you out with this. They will vet your labor union.
Price.
They'll tell you if they're real or
It's not
fake.
that hard.
I just think that everyone's trying to obviously look at a cannabis and take
Give me
advantage.
20 minutes.
There's
Was that Saman?
unions that don't have certifications that are doing this because there's a need. Everyone's trying to fill a gap. I mean, you can't get mad at either side for accepting a non-legitimate.
I can absolutely get mad at the guys who are going around and saying they are a legitimate labor
Well,
union.
hold on. I have another question.
I just think you can't get mad at the companies for hiring those people or getting an
No,
agreement.
I'm not getting mad at I'm getting slightly mad at the companies because they didn't do their due diligence to figure out what was going on. As good old Uncle Dale will say, stupidity is not a defense.
Where's the onerous though on the state because they accepted these when they've uploaded them into their portal and da 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 da.
That's what I'm saying. Did the state approve these things and say yes, this is a union, and then decided no, it's not?
No, the state just basically when you upload all your documents, then whenever they review your application, then they go through everything.
So
How did they catch these guys?
I don't understand what you're suggesting.
The article did not mention how this was all discovered. the article did not mention
The
that at all.
Teamsters, they filed a complaint. I read the article, filed a complaint with the state and said these jag-offs aren't real.
There you go.
Because the Teamsters
The
don't want the
Teamsters mad.
competition. They want to get your money. And
Jimmy
so I
Hoffa.
guarantee you the Teamsters are out there looking to see who are these unions that are popping up.
Yeah, they're trying to unionize here in Las Vegas. It's a big movement for that because of the restaurants.
Well, you guys are a big union city anyway. I mean, all the hotels, everyone's all
It's a whole
union based.
state.
Yeah,
Yeah, big.
exactly. You can't even throw a convention without hiring overpriced labor.
No.
Is
Yeah,
it
it's
overpriced?
$2,700 to
Yeah, straight
carry that
overpriced,
box. To your booth.
overpriced labor, way overpriced labor, 100%.
Yeah.
They should be getting like
I
10
love
bucks
how,
an
I love
hour.
how anti-union people are against paying fair wages.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not against paying fair wages. Don't get it twisted, okay? But I'm telling you right now, $27 an hour is not a fair wage for someone carrying a box from A to B, okay? That's
How
ridiculous.
much do you think those people should be paid to be able to support their families, Jason Beck? What would you pay them?
What would I pay
Especially in
them?
those
Well,
expensive
first of
cities
all,
where
well, hold
you're
on.
having-
First of all, I would do a massive overhaul, and I would only keep positions that actually needed. Okay, and then those people can get paid what they're paying, but there's no need. They probably only need about a fifth of the employees that they have in order to actually do the real work.
I hate when the screen on me is so small because you can't see me rolling my eyes at all the.
Oh, I can
bullshit
see
that
you
Jason is
rolling
putting
your
out.
eyes. I can see it.
I mean,
You
come
can
on.
feel it, bro.
Gretchen. I
The
can
definitely
folks who
feel
are
it.
anti-union have never felt the love and the support of a union, which I have. The union put food on my table, gave me health care growing up. It gave my mother a job. I mean, F you people who think that unions are the devil. They supported her and they gave her a living wage to raise three kids all on her own.
The union
F
never
you.
gave her a wage. Her job gave her a wage.
Bullshit.
Her job
The
gave her a
union kept
wage.
that wage a living wage.
Her job gave her that wage, not the unions. Just saying.
You're an idiot. Next.
I know.
N-E-X-T. Next.
All right, well, coming up next, that's right. She's a feisty, redheaded conservative, founder and creator of Panoptic Strategies. For all of you that need your unions unionized, make sure you reach out to Panoptic Strategies to make sure that they're a real union. That's right. It is none other than the Gretchen Gailey.
True story. When I was interviewing with my boss to work on Capitol Hill, a Republican, and we're going through the interview, and he's listening to my viewpoints and things. He's like, "You're a closet unionist." I'm like, "I ain't no closet unionist. I'm a unionist." And we dealt with it.
Did you get the
He still
job?
hired me. Yes, I did.
Oh, good job, Gretchen.
Because unions are not the devil.
They are.
My headline is coming from Marijuana Moment. DeSantis doubles down on opposition to marijuana legalization, claiming Colorado's illicit market is bigger and more lucrative after reform. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, a 2024 Republican presidential candidate, has reaffirmed that he would not legalize marijuana if elected to the White House, arguing contrary to evidence that the reform has actually increased the size of the illicit market in Colorado. During a campaign event in Iowa on Saturday, an attendee told DeSantis that she knows people whose children developed cannabis-induced psychosis and asked about whether he would move to legalize or reschedule cannabis under federal law if he became president. In response, the GOP contender made clear that he would not legalize, echoing anti-marijuana arguments he previously made in June. "I think what's happened in this stuff is very potent now. I think when young people get it, I think it's a real problem, and I think it's a lot different than stuff that people were using 30, 40 years ago. I think when kids get on that, I think it causes a lot of problems, and then, of course, they can throw fentanyl in any of this stuff now." The candidate then pivoted to a broader discussion about the harms of substance misuse, stating that there's an open-air market for illicit drugs in San Francisco and that society has totally decayed under policies that really help the folks use drugs. DeSantis did acknowledge that Floridians have access to medical cannabis under a constitutional amendment that voters approved, saying that we abide by that, but nothing that states have handled cannabis differently, and he would not take action now to make it even more available. Florida voters may have the choice to expand access regardless of the governor's position, as the state's Supreme Court is currently considering whether a marijuana legalization initiative will appear on the state's 2024 ballot. "I would not do that," DeSantis said on Saturday. And the places that legalized it, like Colorado and California, the argument was, honestly, it wasn't a crazy argument. Look, we know people are going to use marijuana. It is a drug. If you legalize it, then you can tax it, regulate it, and it's going to end up being safer for people. But what's happened in Colorado, the black market for marijuana is bigger and more lucrative than it was before legalization. So the legalization, I don't think, has worked. DeSantis didn't provide data or cite any sourcing to support the argument, but private and government analysis have suggested that Colorado has in fact significantly reduced the influence of the illicit market in the decades since enacting legalization. One report from Leafly and Whitney Economics that was released last year found that 99% of adult use cannabis sales in Colorado take place within the regulated industry, indicating that legalization effectively transitioned people away from the illicit market. Also in July, the city of Denver published a report that showed local law enforcement processed a record low amount of illegal marijuana in 2022, which the government touted as evidence that legalization has largely achieved the goal of mitigating illicit sales. DeSantis' opposition to cannabis legalization, despite recent surveys showing increasing bipartisan support for the reform, is not new. But it's part of the official's scattered record on the issue that comes as he fights to maintain his second-place status in the race for the Republican presidential nomination. It goes on to talk about his bullshit status and how he has looked at weed over the past couple years as governor, because we all know Jason Beck loves his stance on cannabis. But if this jackass looks like he is becoming a front runner, I will not be voting for him because he does not support cannabis. I will be looking for a candidate that does support cannabis, even if I have to go to a third party to get it done. This is Gretchen for High at 9 News.
Gretchen, those are big words right there. I like what that shit you kicking right there, man.
He's a douche. He's a douche, and
He's an
everything.
idiot.
Every time he comes in and does some kind of presser, he becomes more of a douche with what he says. I mean, he really has no clue. I can't believe he's a serious candidate for anything.
He's not a serious candidate. He's not a
The
serious
governor of
candidate.
Florida.
He's the least genuine person on the stage whenever he's on any stage.
Just look at that face. You just want to punch him in the face.
Yeah,
I just want to know
that.
where all of these cannabis growers are getting all this
Look at that
fentanyl
face.
that they're adding to cannabis that these guys are talking about. I don't understand where this idea came from. That cannabis is now being laced with fentanyl.
Yeah, I agree with you, Gretchen. That is the biggest misnomer floating around in cannabis is that you can lace it with fentanyl. That's just totally ridiculous. And anyone that buys into that, I have oceanfront property for sale in Arizona.
Yeah, any presidential candidate that claims shit like that should be automatically disqualified.
He's disqualified. Yeah, he's a fucking idiot.
Yeah, I'm with it. I'm with it. But at the same time, DeSantis is not going to win the presidential nomination. He's not going to win at all. He's best as governor.
Pretend that your boy Trumpy is sitting in jail somewhere and decides, all right, I'm not going to run. Who would you then say if DeSantis ain't going to be it? Who's the Republican nominee?
Vivek.
Oh dear God.
Vivek Ramaswamy. I've said that plenty of times.
Vivek.
Yeah, Vivek.
What's he gonna do now that Eminem sent him a cease and desist?
Well, here's the whole thing. Here's the whole thing with that, because I've actually have wondered about this, because the reality is that you purchased the song, so therefore you have the rights to play the song and do whatever you want to do with it. If you want to sing it
Not in a public forum.
you do. Hold on, you do. No, yes, you do have the right. You do. You hold on. Well, no, you're wrong. You do have the right to play it in a public forum if you want to. You don't have the right to charge for tickets for that performance. Is what you don't have the right to.
It's for
no, he performed this at the Iowa State Fair, bro. People aren't paying tickets to go watch him speak at the Iowa State Fair. Stop the ridiculousness.
You're paying to get
Why
into the fair.
every single year are there
Fair's not
multiple
free.
lawsuits being filed against Donald Trump for using people's songs in his rallies, telling them to turn that off? It's being used against them, and they don't want their music.
I'm just
anywhere
going to
near
say,
them.
if you're a musician and you sell your music, you can't be mad at who buys it.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Yes, you can.
No, you can't.
Yes,
it's
you can.
stupid, and it's stupid if you are.
All right. Once again, Jason Beck making bold statements. He has no.
It's just reality. It's just reality. It's called common sense.
We need Uncle Dale to put Jason in his place on this one.
Don't worry, Dale will be here tomorrow. There we go. There's Vivek and Eminem. Look,
sitting in his Barco lounger in the corner for every episode. just
look, they
sitting
both
there.
hold the mic the same.
Oh my God.
Oh, on that, let's go to a commercial. We're going to be right back. The Control Tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And with the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The Control Tower from Highly Educated. Oh, yeah. Stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed already. Also, make sure you head over to our website, www.highat9news.com. Sign up for our newsletter. Check it out. You will get a confirmation email in your inbox, and you must hit confirm, and then you will be subscribed.
Keeping up to date on the evolving policies of relevant state, local, and federal governments is key to success. When the future of your business is at stake, you need representation as dedicated as you are. With a maze of laws and regulations surrounding cannabis, hemp, and psychedelics, knowing where to begin can be a challenge. Good Thing the Law offices of Omar Figueroa features a skilled, highly focused team ready to guide you through it all. They're accepting new clients in California and New York. So make sure you check them out at info@omarfigueroa.com.
Up next, we got a 30-year media producer, director, and editor who did 13 years as a C-suite cannabis executive. Now this golden-voiced Vegas entrepreneur and dope granddad. And he's also the co-founder of the Smuggleverse and president and founder of DigiPath Labs, is blessing us with bars, straight bars out of these Las Vegas streets. Up next, you know who it is, Todd Denkin.
And the crowd goes wild. Thank you, Rico. I had to ask for my crowd. That's all good. My story today is from the Daily Mail, and Jason, definitely want to get your opinion because the Daily Mail says that recreational weed industry verges on collapse. It's due to steep taxes, plunging prices, and a glut of competition and a thriving illicit pot market. Across the U.S., the legalized marijuana industry is buckling under the strain of plunging prices, patchwork state regulation, and burdensome taxes, analysts and industry groups say. Will Whitney, senior economist for the National Cannabis Industry Association, told the Daily Mail this week, all of these issues are chipping away at the health of the industry to the point where I would describe the industry as in crisis in the United States. This is unsustainable form of economic perspective. Currently, the recreational use of cannabis is legal in 23 states, and last year, state-regulated medical and recreational pot sales topped $26 billion nationwide, according to Vankst, a cannabis jobs platform. But even while sales soar, dispensaries say eking out a profit is growing harder as the glut of weed production pushes prices lower, a boon for blissed-out pot consumers, but a bane for growers and retailers. In California, dispensary chain MedMen, once dubbed the Apple Store of weed, teeters on the brink of financial ruin. While in New Jersey, a trade group warns the industry's stagnating in a doom loop due to licensing delays. The National Cannabis Industry Association warned in a report this month, and I quote, sadly, the legal cannabis markets demanded by countless Americans are on the verge of collapse if common sense, practical reforms are not enacted urgently. Because the marijuana industry is regulated independently in each state where it is legal, the specific issues the industry faces vary from state to state. The industry fractured nature may be part of the problem, says Whitney, because an excess supply of officially trapped within the state, it's grown due to a federal ban on interstate sales of marijuana. On the West Coast in particular, that has meant a glut of oversupply that has sent prices plunging. When legal sales began in Oregon, a pound of cannabis might have gone for $3,000 wholesale, while now it might cost $100 to $150, as Isaac Foster, co-founder of wholesale distributor Portland Cannabis Market. In Washington, which has some of the highest cannabis taxes in the country, the prices consumers pay in legal dispensaries can be even cheaper than illicit weed due to the huge quantity of excess pot being grown in the state. Nationwide, just 24% of companies in the cannabis industry are profitable, down sharply from 42% last year, according to a survey conducted by Whitney's consulting firm, Whitney Economics. And he told the Daily Mail that in addition to pricing pressures, cannabis businesses are struggling under tax burdens because federal law prohibits them from deducting business expenses from income taxes like normal businesses would. As a result, he said, companies in the pot trade are often paying an effective federal tax rate of up to 70% on top of the state and local excise taxes levied on sales. In Michigan, monthly cannabis sales set a new record of $276 million in July, but retailers say they are struggling to turn a profit as the state issues new licenses for growers and retailers each month, according to Bridge, Michigan. Michigan currently has 2,080 active licenses for recreational use. More than half of them belong to Class C growers or retailers who can possess up to 1,500 plants. Last month, the state received 97 applications for recreational use and issued 87. Michigan also levies steep taxes on weed, and retailers face a 10% excise tax in addition to a 6% sales tax. Meanwhile, in Massachusetts, dispensary owners say low prices and a flood of competition threaten to put them out of business. Toby Evans, who opened Pure Oasis Dispensary in Dorchester in 2020 and a second location in Boston this summer, told the Boston Globe this week that he fears for the viability of his business. It's actually very, very scary, Evans said. When everyone was speculating about the industry back in 2016, 17, and 18, we all had these high hopes and these grand expectations. But he added that now the reality is setting in that there isn't a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. In many states that have legalized weed, lawmakers have prioritized cannabis licenses for applicants who were impacted by the war on drugs, such as through former marijuana-related conviction. Whitney warned in a recent economic report that this goal, while admirable, could be balanced with forecasting to determine how many licenses a state market can reasonably bear. He said, unlimited licenses ensure opportunities for smaller and social equity applicants, yet this approach leads to a propensity for oversaturation of supply, resulting in lower prices, tighter margins, and economic stress for operators across the supply chain. In New Jersey, dispensaries blame red tape and licensing delays for cannabis doom loop. At the other end of the spectrum, cannabis companies in some states say they are being stifled by regulators who refuse to issue enough licenses to let the legal industry flourish. On Tuesday, the New Jersey Cannabis Trade Association issued a report blaming state regulators for the industry's slow growth in the state. The trade group, which represents the majority of cultivators and dispensaries in the Garden State, said that the industry in a doom loop due to licensing delays and lack of enforcement against illicit products. The root cause of the weaknesses in New Jersey's cannabis industry is straightforward. Cannabis Regulatory Commission's anemic pace of licensing operators has suffocated the legal market, the group's report said. They're advocating starting with the removal of bureaucracy. Todd Johnson, the group's executive director, told the Philadelphia Inquirer, and added, we are making it difficult right at the point of entry for no apparent reason. New Jersey currently has 37 operating recreational cannabis dispensaries and 13 that sell only medical marijuana. Legal recreational sales in the state began with 12 adult use retailers in April of 2022. And he noted that the state regulators don't allow the legal industry to meet demand. Illicit markets for pot thrive, raising concerns about safety and quality standards, as well as tax revenue lost for the state. In New York City, delays in rolling out licenses have resulted in a free-for-all of bootleg retailers operating with impunity. New York set aside its first dispensary licenses for people who had pot convictions or relatives who did, complexities that slowed the rollout after legalization of recreational use in March of 21. Since then, just 15 approved retailers have opened in a state of nearly 20 million people. Also, the number of corner bodegas and illicit dispensaries selling weed in New York is estimated to top over 1,000. While there may have been some attempts at enforcement, authorities are reluctant to be seen as recriminalizing pot. Meanwhile, some in the industry are holding out faint hopes that President Joe Biden's administration will clear the way for marijuana trade among states that have legalized the drug. That would allow the West Coast, with its favorable climate and cheap, clean hydropower for indoor growing, to help supply the rest of the country, they argue. Now that already occurs through the illicit channel, noted Whitney, but if they had interstate commerce, then it would be more formalized. And then you would have balance. You'd have more demand to consume all that excess in the West. You wouldn't need to set up all this growing infrastructure in the East. Washington and Colorado were the first states to legalize marijuana in 2012. Many of the early regulations Washington adopted to keep the Justice Department at bay, including restricting the size of growing facilities and banning out-of-state investment, remain in place. It has helped some smaller growers thrive, but it could hamstring those hoping to compete in an interstate marketplace alongside larger, more efficient producers from Oregon or California who operate under fewer limits. In Oregon, where sales began in 2015, large growers have achieved some economy of scale that could give them a leg up in a broader market. In the meantime, the state's oversupply is considered the nation's worst. In February, the Oregon Liquor and Cannabis Commission reported marijuana businesses were sitting on, get this, 3 million pounds of unused cannabis, as well as 75,000 pounds of concentrates and extracts. Overregulation, overtaxing, limits on licensing, and bureaucracy are all factors consider changing in order to help cannabis businesses be profitable. I'm Todd Denkin with High at 9 News. Jason, you have a dispensary. What are your profits like? Are they hard to come by, or are you thriving?
Oh, I don't know of anyone really thriving, I would say. You know, there may be a few brands thriving, but as far as individual retail stores, no. And at the same time, retail is the highest subject to 280E as far as things that they can't write off. So it's very difficult to remain profitable in a retail environment.
I hear the same thing that's happening in Vegas. All the big guys are doing really well. And they're seeing in upwards of 1,000 customers a day, and still tough to be profitable.
Exactly. Well, I mean, a lot of that too is because of 280E and the inability to write off expenses, and so I mean that's just a majority of it. And
yeah, it's just ridiculous. I mean, when do you think the pot industry will be treated like an industry?
When it actually grows up and actually puts significant dollars into government relations and actual lobbying for policies that actually make sense, as opposed to allowing all these MSOs to dictate all the policy that only hurts us and damages us.
Right, so it's just more money in politics to make this right, is what you're saying?
Yep, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Feed that capitalist beast.
Yep.
Feed the machine. And that's the only way you're going to be viewed by this capitalist, corrupt machine as as acceptable fuel.
Real trap shit.
I half agree with that statement. What really needs to happen in Washington are people need to get on the same page. Social advocates are completely fighting every twist and turn of this industry. I mean, the folks that are still in this saying all or nothing are still getting nothing.
Yep, exactly. And they're going to continue to get nothing.
We always get nothing from our government. What do you mean? That's just how government. That's like what government means. Like,
because you don't know how to work the government.
Exactly.
Government doesn't get shit done. If they actually got shit done, we actually see real changes. But
government actually does stuff every day, bro.
They're not making real moves for industry to thrive in this country. If they were, they'd actually forget about all the bullshit they're worried about and focus on making the cannabis economy drive the industry in this nation for whatever term.
Right? Why would they do that when all the MSOs are lobbying against that, Saman? And they're the ones with the dollars that are paying for all this.
That's what I'm saying is nobody's really thinking about it. This is a huge industrial revolution in this country that could re-energize farming, that could re-energize all this ag across the country. You saw hemp. Hemp did the same thing, but it crashed because we fucked that up. That is the whole point.
Well, that's marijuana Mitch's fault.
Politicians like to listen to Jason Beck, who you hate so much. Labor unions.
Actually, they don't, but whatever.
Bullshit, you're an idiot.
That who they like to listen to? They actually like to listen to businesses and trade organizations more than they like to listen to labor unions.
The AFL-CIO that is steps from the Capitol. You think that's there by coincidence?
Nope, I don't. I don't think that's there by coincidence. I think that's there by the fact that they've been extorting their workers and being able to pay for that real estate.
Gretchen, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%, Gretchen. And a unified voice would come into fruition and be able to make an argument about what is needed, what is wanted from these communities. But unfortunately, there are none, and that's why
you're not gonna. Yeah,
and I'm just saying, there's nothing wrong because people say, "Well, why do we all have to have the same voice?" because you go out there, there's the Beer Institute, there's the wholesaler, spirits and distributors, like alcohol, all sorts of folk. There's lots of associations for everybody and their cousin. So why shouldn't cannabis have that as well? However, these people are actually established and have an established industry. Saman, don't shake your head. Listen to what I have to say first. Let's get onto the same page, have an established industry, and then you can fight for the different little things that you want. But until we get the big sweeping terms that we need, it ain't happening. If we're hung up on the minutia right now, you're never going to get to the bigger picture.
On the
you got to get the bigger picture first.
I think the saddest part about all of this is everybody knew this from the beginning, from the jump. Mm-hmm. Everybody knew this shit.
No, they didn't.
Everybody.
Of course,
if you rewind when California, when Measure M was passed,
mm-hmm.
we were out here in California. 64 was being written into the books and all that stuff. Like Jason, like how many meetings did we have down here in LA that would just devolve into chaos?
Every single one of them. Every single one of them. Yeah, there wasn't one single mention when we're talking out here trying to unify the industry and come to talk to one little thing. And we're just talking about operators in LA, and those people couldn't even get it together. So if you're talking about on a national level with the industry, that's not even in the cards in reality. Especially as long as you have these MSOs at the table, because we do not have, as far as smaller operators, we do not have the same goals that the MSOs have. And the MSOs, the MSOs want to hamper down commerce at state lines.
That everyone can come together on.
No, like what? Like what?
280E. Bye-bye.
Okay.
I don't think everyone wouldn't mind seeing that gone.
I think everyone, but you're not going to get that done without an excise tax in place of it, so that's not a reality.
Why can we not come up with a taxation
because the
plan that is a reality, Jason Beck? Why is that so difficult?
I mean, we have one that Nancy Mace introduced. I thought was a very, very reasonable tax rate.
Okay, that's fine. Jason, so we like Nancy Mace's tax rate. We don't like half the other shit in her bill. What we need to be looking at is what I know you do, and so do the other three sponsors that she was able to pull together, but nobody else likes it.
The only people that don't like it are the MSOs because it's going to infringe on their market caps.
Oh my God! There are ways.
You guys are infringing on Saman's reading time. Let's get it.
We are. It's Saman Razani coming up next. Yes, it's the man who reminds women over 50 how to say hello again.
Say hello again.
Yes.
I can't wait for you to teach me how to say hello again, Saman.
You guys are so weird about this stuff.
I think you're doing a great public service.
Weird. You know why, Saman? You can't smell. You can't smell. You can't spell menopause without men.
That's true.
You know what?
That's so true, Rico.
I'm gonna leave that one right there. It sounds like everybody needs to take a deep breath, inhale some weed, and just relax a little bit. All right, I'm gonna cruise on in.
Smoke.
That's your problem.
That's part of the problem right there, Gretchen.
That's the issue. All right. So fantastic discourse on the Discord today. I love this. Okay, great. We've established our industry is headed in the toilet if Gretchen can't whip our government into shape for us. So everyone, donate to Panoptic Strategies. Yeah. Hit that like and subscribe button. High at 9 News to the movie. All right, here we go. My story.
For your financial support.
My story out of Montgomery, Alabama. Delays continue for medical cannabis in Alabama. It's a big surprise. On Monday, Montgomery County Circuit Court Judge James Anderson extended a temporary restraining order on licensing and delayed a hearing on the Open Meetings Act violation that was alleged by one of the companies denied a license. Somebody's crying boo-hoo. Attorneys for the Alabama Medical Cannabis Commission said the commission will vote to stay the licensing process at their meeting this Thursday. That would be on top of the court-ordered stay already in place. They'll then discuss how to move forward with awarding licenses for what would be the third time. Lawyers for the company, Alabama Always, say they're encouraged by a third round of awards done in the open. The way the government in our country should work is that the people should be given notice on what the government is doing and an opportunity to participate and respond. That is, I'm hopeful that the process is heading in that direction, Somerville said. Alabama always built a facility in Montgomery and was twice denied an integrated facility license. The AMCC's score sheet shows them ranked 26 out of 38 applicants. Their objective at the end of the day is to get a license. They spent a lot of money, Somerville said. Meanwhile, other companies have also joined the litigation. Verano, Alabama was awarded an integrated facility license the first time, but not the second time. The score sheet shows them ranked number 1. In their complaint to the court, Verano said they should get a license. Their CEO also sent a letter to Governor Kay Ivey saying that they're ready, willing, and able to invest at least $40 million in Alabama. While companies battle in court, Shay Garrigan with the Alabama Cannabis Industry Association says patients are waiting. I think it's very sad because nobody was there representing the patients. They were there just representing the people that did not receive a license. The only thing that people in pain right now want to know is when can I get a card, Garrigan said. Judge Anderson extended the temporary restraining order until September 6th. That's when he set the hearing on the Open Meetings Act issue. And that's my story. And that just, is more fuel for the fire of today's discussion here. I mean, this is exactly what we were just discussing and what our, fans are discussing in our chat. I mean, what do you do here? What do you do with all these states? This is what I mean by we've already figured this out. This has already been established. It's just now a political game. And this is why we have BS like this, frankly. And people in Alabama, frankly, are in more need of cannabis use and open kind of market there because they have such, they've had such a historical issue with like pharmaceutical drug abuse in those areas. So, I mean, personally, this is why I just get so irritated by everything that's happening and by this non-togetherness that we're talking about here. But at the same token, it's like, this is capitalism. What do we do? So how do you balance those things?
Saman, and
Burn
I
it
would
down. That's what
totally
you do.
agree with you 100%. One of the most frustrating things I find about our non-unity is everyone has forgotten about the patient. Everyone has forgotten about why this industry began and who we were trying to help and what we were trying to do and trying to prove that this plant is a medicine that can help folks. And patients have totally been left behind in every state. I don't care what you say. And if, frankly, I believe if medical were more of the argument moving forward on the national level, this industry might pick up a little more steam instead of being focused so much on the bottom dollar and on recreational use.
But that's the argument from the NGOs, and that's what's going to get all of us mom and pop operators in trouble, because if it does to an actual medical application, then we have a burden to pursue of the expenditure of capital to get these facilities retrofitted to meet what the FDA, says.
Well, and Saman, and I'm not suggesting that you have to go to the complete level of GMP certification for some of these things. I think we should be looking at various alternative medicines. I mean, I think things should be able to be treated as a supplement. I think
as a
cannabis should be
nutraceutical.
able to have, yes, absolutely, those different distinctions for people who would like to use it in its full spectrum form, which a number of folks do, which clearly the pharmaceutical industry cannot handle the full spectrum of cannabis. I think there are absolutely ways for there to be 2 lanes for this industry to move forward. As a nutraceutical, as adult use, 3 lanes, it's pharmaceutical. I mean, but I think the medicine side has to be put forward first.
I mean, I agree, and hence why I've developed all of these different nutraceutical types of products, because I feel like that is the future. But if we look, like, that's also a war of attrition there too, because you're just waiting. And
but Saman, do you know how the supplement world came to be in Washington? They showed up, they handed Congress a whole handbook. This is how this should work. Guess what Congress did? We don't know, Dick. Go for
big
it.
money.
Yeah, it's kind of like what the FDA does
into a marketing campaign that they subscribe to, and that these politicians fell for it.
But
They
The
fell
way
for it.
that this
That's why
industry
we have
needs to move
GNC.
forward is becoming unified and actually putting forth shit. Because trust me, Congress does not know how to create a new pathway. They're not the guys to do it. everybody just kicking this can around the it's not even kicking it down the street. They're just kicking it into the alley. They're kicking it behind a fucking house. They don't know where the fuck to kick it. They have no idea.
You talk about it when campaigning.
Tell them which way they need to go.
Oh, that's
Get
what I
those
do.
pancakes in shape, Gretchen. Whip them into shape.
Yes,
I would love to see, and maybe I will work on this because, like, I got nothing else better to do in my life, is try and come up with an event, an actual cannabis debate that I would love to invite all these jackasses to who won't even have one question about cannabis in these national debates.
Oh, John Boehner will be there for sure.
Hell yeah. I'll give him a keg of wine and he'll be there. I mean,
really, you just got to buy him dinner at that restaurant.
Answers on this. Where?
Yeah, the restaurant that's right across the street from Ted's Bulletin. Yeah, exactly, that Italian restaurant.
The problem is everybody showed up and does not know how to play capitalism. And when we tried to go the capitalist route, you got to play capitalist games. And
is that why they have a capitalist gains tax?
Yeah, man. Saman, we just have to say, man, your hair looks very, very healthy.
Oh,
and
you rat bastard.
Know what kind of product you're using.
Don't worry, I got the female pattern baboon ass happening, so don't worry.
Oh jeez. Oh god. Oh, it's time to wrap it up now. It's time to wrap it up now on that one.
I love it, man. I love it. Thank you all for joining us today for another episode of High 9 News. You can catch us live weekdays at 9 a.m. Pacific, high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to the super fans showing love, getting their comments live on the big screen, live audience and online supporters catching us across all media platforms, tuning in each day. To our vetted correspondent team tuning in from all over, bringing us much needed variety of perspective and your respective opinions to the table. To our production team, Cloud Media Partners, House of Fuego, all the other sponsors keeping our lights on, AV struggles to a minimum, and of course the lovely Jaja Simone always holding us down on the other platforms. And as always, Cannabis Sativa L, the reason why we show up to read these stories every single day. Thank you too. It has been Tuesday, August 29th, 2023. The show is over. You've all been blessed with the top industry headlines. Hope was enough for you to put in your pipe and smoke at least until hump day. My name is Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High 9 News. And Saman Razani, the man with the golden coif. Can you please bless us with a few man comments for these ladies and gentlemen that are watching?
Here's just a general comment for all my people. Inhale the good shit. Exhale the bad shit, guys, and just stay level-headed, stay calm, and always look out for your neighbors, look out for your people, and we're all in this together. Respect. Peace.